Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going over a pistol that you guys are clamoring for. This one's recently been released. I got one of the first ones in, and this is the Canik TP9SF Elite. So the Elite has a lot of features that the other SA and SF models don't have. We're going to get into all that coming up soon, but one thing I want to point out is just Canik in general, right? So I have probably 3 or 4 reviews of their pistols, and I generally make recommendations in them of what they can do to improve them, and really throughout the evolution of the pistols, things that I've said, other people on YouTube have said, other training professionals have said, really have been incorporated into the guns. And that's kind of what you get with this one right here. This is sort of the culmination of it, and I'm sure they have other ones coming, but there's definitely a lot of improvements over the original TP9, and then throughout the evolution of the TP9 SF, V2, SA, etc. They really keep improving them, so that's certainly something I like. But what we're going to do now is let the dogs take a look at it and then come back in, go over the details, and at the end we'll let you know what we think of it overall.
We're going to test the accuracy of the pistol real quick. I expect it to do pretty well, but you never know. In the gun, we have 115 grain total metal jacket munitions. So just practice stuff, and then we have some self-defense ammo. Target downrange at 25 yards, and a little bit of a rest here. I think I'm going to take that off. And up yapping, we'll see what we can do. That's a pretty good group, so no doubt about it. That trigger definitely helps for sure. Next up, we're gonna fire some, this is 150 grain Federal HST, so heavy stuff. This is designed for short-barreled pistols to sort of make sure they go reliably, have reliable expansion, I should say, but 150 grain, relatively heavy for caliber, so we'll see what we can do with it with this Canik. A malfunction there on that one. Let's go check it out. Those are both pretty good groups for a combat style pistol. This isn't like a custom 1911 or anything, so I was impressed. First group was the Minuteman munitions, and we are right at 1 3/4 inches on that one. And then for the Federal, on the Federal, we're right at 2 inches. So 1 3/4, 2 inches. It's pretty good accuracy.
Getting into the details of the pistol, we'll start out here on the back strap. This is the large back strap. It comes with this one in the box and the standard size on there. Now I have relatively large hands. I tend to prefer on most pistols the larger grips, so it is user adjustable there, and you can sort of swap that out. It has nice little stippling or diamond pattern stippling on there, which I do like, both on the back strap and on the front strap. Definitely helps the gun not jump around in your hand. On the sides here we have the Canik logo and then texturing in there on both sides of the pistol as well. On the rear of the pistol, we do have a striker indicator. Now, when it's back like this, it is in the cocked position. When it comes from the factory, I should point out there's a nice piece of red paint on there. Now, I've shot so many rounds through this gun that it's kind of shot off, the paint itself has, but normally you'd see the little red protruding, but either way, you can still tell, you can feel it and see that the striker is cocked, and when you pull the trigger, striker goes home and it goes away. Now you know your striker is not cocked. So up top here, we do have the Warren tactical sights. You can see it's got a nice U-notch, which I do like. It's a plain black rear. And then up front, we have the fiber optic sight. So it does come with spare fiber optics, I believe green and yellow, if you want to switch it out or if one breaks. Fiber optics sights eventually will break if you use them enough. but no issues at all with this one. And we've done one-handed manipulations and things like that. It does have nice serrations up there as well, which I do like. It cuts down any potential glare that you may have, although I've not noticed any glare at all on the top of this slide. The magazines that the pistol ships with are two 15 rounders made by Mekgar, so I'm definitely a fan of Mekgar, no getting around it. They make probably, I'd say 80% of the pistols worldwide. They make the mags for them, a lot of OEM manufacturing and aftermarket, but you can see there we do have the witness holes there on the back to tell you what capacity your mag is loaded to. Additionally, you guys have probably noticed throughout the video that the full-size Canik mags that are 18 rounders as well as the 20 rounders do work in the pistol. We've been using them throughout the video. Locks back, functions flawlessly, just have a little bit protruding here on the bottom, but no issues at all. One thing I should point out there while we're talking about the mag well is that it does have this little cutout there on both sides. So the reason that's there is in case you get a double feed and you have to rip that mag out, you can actually grab it. You have a little place to kind of grab hold of the magazine and pull down. So that's certainly a nice feature that wasn't found on some of the earlier Caniks. Another feature I like about this pistol is that it does not have a mag disconnect. So with no magazine in the gun, you can pull the trigger. It will function just fine. However, when you do load around in there, you'll see that we do have this little loaded chamber indicator on top. It has the little red dot on there, and it's also, you know, tactile as well for low light situations. You'll know you have one in the pipe. Of course, you don't want to count on that, but it is nice to have for sure. Additionally, while it's just manipulating the gun there, one thing I do like about this Canik over any of the other Caniks that we've used so far is this slide lock, slide release. Number one, it is ambidextrous. And that's nice for a lot of the left-handed shooters out there, but more importantly for me, I have not had a single issue in any of the mags or anything that we've ran through this pistol where I get a failure lock back because I'm riding it with the thumb's high grip that I use. On some of the other Canik pistols, if you guys have watched my reviews, you'll note that I did mention that many times that I was inadvertently hitting it, and the way they profiled this one, both on the right and left side, I've never had the issue once, so definitely good news there on that. The slide lock may be ambidextrous, but the mag release is not. It's just on the left side of the pistol as it comes from the factory. You can switch it over to the right side though for you lefties out there, and you can have your release over there. As far as I know, this pistol will only be coming in one coloration, so we have the black frame here, and we do have the gunmetal gray Cerakoted slide. Now the slide itself is parkerized before it's Cerakoted, so it's going to give you pretty good durability overall. You can see we do have the serrations up front for those of you guys that like to do that. Also have them here in the rear on both sides of the pistol. One thing that's nice about the TP9 series is that they mill out the slide here. So what that does is eliminates a little bit of weight of the pistol that you just simply don't need. So it gives it a nice streamlined look when going in holsters and stuff like that, but it also really just alleviates weight where you don't need it. The trigger on this pistol is phenomenal. I know a lot of folks out there will argue between, you know, what's the best striker fired trigger out there? Is it the VP9? Is it the PPQ? Is it the Canik TP9SA or SF? Well, I would say this one is right in the running for it for sure. In terms of a striker fired gun, the trigger is just phenomenal. So you're going to see that we do have the little trigger safety there, which is that red piece. It has to be depressed or else the trigger will not go back if you do not fully depress it. So with a normal trigger pull, you will depress it. So we're going to have this little bit of slop right here, and then you hit the wall, keep pulling through. My trigger on my scale breaks at 4.5 pounds. Very clean though for a striker fired gun. It's phenomenal. In the reset, we'll show you that one again. Pretty short, so right in line with the SF for those of you guys that have shot that gun. Very similar in terms of the reset. However, the reset on this one, at least on my sample size of 1, seems to be a little bit stronger in terms of the spring bouncing back. So it's a little bit more tactile, which I certainly like. I'm going to touch on a couple other features on the frame, and then we'll get into the disassembly. So here we have a nice undercut up underneath the trigger guard, which helps you get up higher on the pistol. That's something that a lot of Glock folks have done aftermarket, and it comes that way from the factory on this pistol, which I certainly like. And here we do have 3 Picatinny rail slots there for those guys who want to add lasers, lights, or anything else like that up front. I realize that a lot of your local gun stores and stuff like that are not going to have this pistol in stock, so we'll try to give you a size comparison so you guys can get an idea of just how big it is. So here we have our classic TP9SF. This one here has seen quite a few rounds, as you can tell. Talon grip tape on there. I really like it. I'm sure it's coming for the SF Elite. I just haven't seen it yet, but what you can see there, if we line everything up, is The SF's just a little bit longer there in the frame, or in the slide I should say, as well as in the frame. So that's basically what we have there. Of course, those take the 18 round mags, so a little bit longer there, but you get 3 extra rounds, and you can see sort of how they line up there from the top as well. I could hear you guys talking at the computer telling me to compare it to a Glock 19, so we will do so. Here's our Glock 19 Gen 3, and you guys can see if we line everything up there at the back that the SF Elite is a touch longer in the slide, and that's with the back plates of the slides lined up there. And then if you line up the frames themselves, or the rails themselves, you'll see that the SF is a little bit longer in the grip as well. Disassembling the pistol is a little bit different than some of the other striker-fired guns out there, so of course you're going to verify that you are clear, that there's nothing in the chamber, and we're going to point in a safe direction and pull the trigger. At this point, we're going to pull back about 1/4 of an inch on the slide and depress this tab on each side, and you release it, but you notice it comes up there. So it actually goes forward and up rather than all the way forward like a lot of striker-fired guns. A couple things to note there while we have it apart. We do have a steel guide rod, which I know a lot of folks like there. And then the barrel itself is a cold hammer forged barrel, and you can see the feed ramp nicely polished there. Really, the barrels on the Caniks are excellent, as you guys saw throughout that accuracy test, and you really can't complain about that at all. They're a NATO spec manufacturer, so they do really high round count tests. And actually a lot of that stuff published over on Canik's website, so you guys can check that out. But reassembly, pretty much the exact opposite of disassembly. Once you get that locked in, now you can see I'm just going to do this to show you what not to do. If you try to slide it back, I don't even know if you can go there, yeah. So your ejector will hit the back of the slide, so you certainly can't do that. So what you have to do is just kind of line this little notch up there with the rail, then come back, and you're back in business. I think we hit most of the highlights there, at least in terms of features. So one thing that we didn't discuss is going to be cost. This pistol here, I think the MSRP is like $459. Street price, you're going to see them right around $399. So for that price, with the feature set that you get, it's pretty impressive. It also comes with a holster, I should point out. I didn't point that out, but I'm not a huge fan of it. It's a Serpa style holster. I could, you know, it's serviceable and it's usable. It's better than nothing, so that's certainly good. But I'd like to see them do without the little service paddle. So if there's a next generation, just make it a standard Kydex with no button. That's my recommendation for you, Canik. Anyway, so it does come with a holster, the sights, nice Cerakote on there, the interchangeable backstrap, 2 high-quality Metgar mags. It's a lot of value for $399 street price. So in terms of reliability, what we had there was not as good as some of the other Caniks, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but I've had 3 Caniks that were completely flawless through thousands of rounds and never had an issue. This pistol, through approximately 600 to 700 rounds, I really don't know the exact round count because I actually let a bunch of college kids shoot this one day at one of their range days, and they put a few hundred rounds through it. I don't know the total, but we've had 2 malfunctions with it. One that you guys saw during the accuracy test with that HST, and one was a young lady who was a very inexperienced shooter and was clearly limp wristing it, and you guys can see the footage. She had a malfunction with it as well. So when you couple that with the fact that the other one I had was during the accuracy test where I'm sort of lightly holding the pistol and trying to just manipulate the trigger, my guess is it's the limp wristing problem just from what we've seen in my data. But anyway, other than that, it's been 100% reliable when I'm actually holding it normal and shooting it as designed. If you guys have any questions at all about the pistol that we didn't cover in the video, by all means post down below in the comment section. You can also post over at my Facebook page as always, but that's about it. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you in the next video.